India has moved the big guns. 155mm howitzers move to defend India's borders. In South Kashmir, a secondary landing strip is being constructed. As India moves reinforcements to secure the line of actual control, the message is clear. India is prepared for the long haul as national interest is not negotiable. So less than 48 hours to go for the Corps Commander of Leh and his Chinese counterpart to meet near Chushul at the line of actual control. Will they be able to ring down tensions at the LAC, or will it then go up to the level of the foreign secretaries or the National Security Advisor and his Chinese counterpart? We'll explore answers on the broadcast. Also, why is China doing this and why now? I'm Gaurav Sawant. Action-packed 30 minutes lined up. Let's get started. So the whole world is combating coronavirus and China ramps up tension at the India-China line of actual control. I'll come to that story, but before that, let me get you the latest in India's war on coronavirus, and that is where numbers are gradually going up. Take a look at these figures on your television screen. As on date, there are 2,16,919 confirmed coronavirus cases in our country. So far, 6,075 people have lost their lives. But the heartening news, and that's the good news about the recovery rate, it's more than 48%. 1,04,107 people have recovered, and this is the latest information that's coming from the Ministry of Health. There's breaking news that's coming in. India Today will just get you images of harassment of a top Indian diplomat in Pakistan. Pakistan's notorious counterintelligence agency, the ISI, tailing India's Shari affairs, Gaurav Ahluwalia, in Pakistan. And these are images that are exclusively available on India Today. Take a look. This is an ISI operative who's trailing a top Indian diplomat. There are cases of harassment of Indian diplomats in Pakistan, and this is happening in the heart of Pakistan, in the capital, Islamabad. This harassment has now been caught on camera as ISI personnel chase a top Indian diplomat in Pakistan. I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for more on this. Geeta, India caught 2 Pakistani ISI operatives red-handed in India. Is this retaliation, or has this been on for some time?
In the past as well, Gaurav, we've been reporting about harassment in diplomats in Pakistan. But then, yes, timing is quite important over here. The fact that we've just 2 Indian Pakistani diplomats and a driver, and they were sent back home, after which there were cars, bikes waiting outside Gaurav Ahluwalia's residence for him to come out. And the moment his car came out of the residence area and premises of the diplomatic enclave in Islamabad, the car was followed, intimidated. You've seen the intimidating tactics in the past as well, where the bike comes very close to the car and then moves away, comes close, moves away, and then keeps forward and moving back. So that's the kind of intimidating tactics that Pakistan used yet again, and this is against the Saudi Affairs, the Deputy Chief of Mission in Pakistan, Gaurav Ahluwalia.
Geeta Mohan, for the moment, many thanks for joining me, and perhaps Pakistan's ISI will realize that India is made of sterner stuff. This clearly will fail to intimidate Indians. I now want to shift focus to our top story. There's a build-up that's happening along the line of actual control, and these are images that we're going to show you exclusively of 155mm howitzers, the Bofors guns that you saw in action on the Kargil Heights in 1999. Now those 155 howitzers and newer guns, they are now being moved along the line of actual control. So India is ramping up. India is ramping up infrastructure development in this area. Roads will be built. These guns are moving. Troops, a division plus, already deployed. That's a strong message that India is giving out to those who violate the sanctity of the line of actual control. The message is India is in it for the long haul.
If you didn't think the Ladakh standoff was serious so far, perhaps these images will convince you. Army Bofors guns making their way to the China border in Ladakh. Images that confirm the temperature of the situation. But what you're looking at is the Indian Army mirroring China's own mobilization. India matching China troop for troop and gun for gun. China, as India Today reported this week, has already mobilized artillery and armor in a big way near the standoff points.
Now we are seeing that the Bofors artillery is being transported for the forward posts on line of control to challenge any kind of aggression by China. And also not only that, but also an emergency landing strip is being developed here in the Kashmir on National Highway 44 near Bijbehara, which the work on which has been initiated on the fast track for last many days, so that the landing facility for the jets could be available here in Srinagar.
India's big mirror mobilization isn't random. In 48 hours, Lieutenant Generals from the two countries will meet in Ladakh, the highest level military engagement so far on this standoff. Meanwhile, these fresh satellite images, for the first time, capture Chinese camps near the Finger Four area of the Pangong Lake, one of the main standoff points, confirming Chinese attempts to push ever closer to Indian positions and dominate these heights. 600 kilometers away, meanwhile, while not directly in response to the India-China border tensions, the National Highway Authority of India has begun constructing an emergency landing strip in South Kashmir on the Srinagar-Jammu highway. The total length of the airstrip will be 3.5 kilometers and will be used for emergency operations. But for now, all eyes are on this Saturday in Ladakh. After 8 rounds of talks over the last 1 month, including 3 at the Major General level, on June the 6th, India's Corps Commander in Leh will meet with a Chinese 3-star general at a well-established border meeting point in Ladakh's Chushul Moldo. While the situation remains tense, there has been a slight de-escalation in one of the 4 standoff points in the Galwan Valley, with top sources telling India Today that Chinese positions have moved back 2 kilometers and India has moved back 1 kilometer. But these are small movements. The big picture remains in focus. With Ashraf Wani and Shujaul Haq in Srinagar and Abhishek Bhalla in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
So what will happen in 48 hours when the two 3-star generals size each other up and discuss the road ahead? Will there be de-escalation, or will it get escalated to the level after the armed forces, to the foreign ministry or even the Prime Minister's office, where the National Security Advisor then has to get involved? Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General of Infantry, who was Chief of Staff of this area, he joins us on the broadcast. But before I bring in General Kulkarni for more on the story, I quickly want to cut across to India Today's News Director Rahul Kanwal, who's explaining the standoff at Pangong So, the north bank of Pangong So, where India is still Finger 4 and China between Finger 4 and Finger 8.
The Pangong Lake is 134 kilometers in length. At its widest, about 5 kilometers wide. And this is the north bank of the Pangong Lake, which is where the current transgression has taken place. This is the south bank of the Pangong Lake. So this is the south bank, and it is here that the current standoff is taking place. But what we've been able to do, and this is where things will get interesting, is actually go further to give you a real sense of what's happening. So on this side of the Pangong is the Indian deployment. This is Finger 1, Finger 2, Finger 3. We have a post there. There's also a base, an Indian Army base. And from the last Indian Army base, this line is dotted. It's dotted because there is no road going from the base till Finger 4. The Indian Army actually patrols it on foot. So you've got a road, a proper road coming up till Finger 3, and then you've got the Indian Army having to patrol. The Chinese, on the other hand, this is their base. So they've got one military base at Sirijap 1, one military base at Sirijap 2, then they have a base further up. This is Finger 8. Now, why this area is contentious is because Ordinarily, the Indian Army patrols up till finger 8. Now, either they can walk along this path or they can take the boats. You see some boats in the Pangong Lake, so they can patrol using the boats, but our patrol goes up till finger 8. However, what the Chinese did in 1999, when the Indian Army had evacuated forces from here because of the Kargil war, they built a road. At that time, it was a Kacha road going up till finger 4. What they've done recently over the past few weeks is that they've been able to make it a hardtop, a metallic road, which makes it easy for them to bring more troops, more equipment in, and even take it out. So this is finger 7, finger 6, finger 5, and then finger 4. So the Chinese are currently sitting till finger 4. India claims the line of actual control runs through finger 8. So this purple line that you see on the map is the line that India believes is the line of actual control. This other purple line is the line that China believes is the line of actual control. So this area in the middle is the disputed area, which is what the confrontation is currently all about, because we claim that the line runs up till here, the Chinese claim the line runs up till here, and as a reality, they're currently sitting up till finger 4, which disallows Indian patrols from going further. So that's broadly the lay of the land.
So what happens? What happens in 48 hours? Will the Indian Corps commander be able to tell the Chinese Corps commander that he needs to push his soldiers back beyond finger 8? Or will it then get escalated to the level of the foreign ministry? Let me bring in General Kulkarni. General Kulkarni, why is China doing this, and what, according to you, is likely to happen in 48 hours when the 2 3-star generals meet off Chushul?
Firstly, thank you, Gaurav. It's a pleasure, because your father was my Chinese instructor, and here Rahul's late father, brilliant man, was my senior. So I couldn't have asked for better people there on the show. Notwithstanding that, now let's come down to why are the Chinese doing what they're doing? That is very important. There are various factors why China would be doing. First and foremost, let's take it that such a mobilization by the Chinese wouldn't be done overnight. It was being planned for. They knew what they were doing and why they were doing it. If you look back a little bit, you'll see that over the years, they've been doing that. 13, 15, 17, yes. Instead of 19, now 2020. So these things have been happening. But definitely, this time, it was a little unprecedented, not expected from China. Maybe they're on the back foot. They find themselves on the back foot economically within the country. They find that at the back foot, even worldwide, when they're on the back foot because of Wuhan, they know that internally also they don't seem to be doing too well. Xi himself is losing a bit of ground. You see what's going on in Hong Kong. You see what's going on in Taiwan. You see what's going on in South China Sea. So there's a little bit of pressure. Notwithstanding all that, why against India at this point of time? That is what is important. I think they want to convey a very clear message that, look, whatever be it so, India mustn't mess around, and they feel so. They feel that India is getting a good place internationally. They seem to have a voice. Everybody seems to be looking up to India because India seems to be a good democracy, a country which is very well respected by one and all in the world over. And China today is on the back foot. Yes. What the Chinese president had promised the Chinese by 2020 doesn't seem to be happening. He had promised a big dream to them that their per capita income would be double, they would have a reunification of China and all. That doesn't seem to be happening.
So there's internal trouble. There's internal trouble. That's a very important point you raised, General, about India's growing stature worldwide, especially China's stature is going down in COVID-19, India's stature is going up. The US President, of course, Donald Trump, he offered to help. India said thank you, but no thank you. We don't need any third-party intervention. The Australian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, they had a virtual summit. Now there's a mutual logistics assistance pact that's been signed between India and Australia, and that shows while China may want to keep India confined to South Asia, India is literally stretching its sea legs. Big role in the Indian Ocean region, big role in the Indo-Pacific, and that perhaps has China on the back foot. Take a look at this report Geeta Mohan and I filed.
Very comfortable relationship. It is a very natural relationship. So much in common.
India and Australia today inked a defence pact and upgraded ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said this was the perfect time to take India-Australia ties to the next level.
कोलैबोरेटिव अप्रोच की आवश्यकता है। भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया के साथ अपने संबंधों को व्यापक तौर पर और तेज गति से बढ़ाने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। यह न सिर्फ हमारे दोनों देशों के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है, बल्कि इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र और विश्व के लिए भी आवश्यक है।
Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison at the virtual summit spoke of missing the Modi hug and Gujarati khichdi. And amidst the bonhomie, he also emphasized India's crucial role in the Indo-Pacific region.
In the Indo-Pacific, we are committed to an open, inclusive, prosperous Indo-Pacific. And India's role in that region, our region, will be critical in the years ahead. The cultural links that we enjoy between our countries are well known. Between vets and universities.
Australia had recently stood firm in demanding accountability and a probe into the novel coronavirus and China's actions. Well, despite threats and a ban on certain Australian exports to China, Australia has stuck to its guns. Australia is expected to intensify military and naval cooperation and exercises with India. China has been wary of India, Japan, the US and Australia coming together, even though India has made it clear the grouping is not against any one country.
Trump's invitation to India to join the next G7 meeting reflects Washington's desire to embed India more deeply in a world order that the US wants to more robustly push back against China. And I think it's quite telling, it's quite striking that Australia was also invited to the meet, which already includes Japan, a current member of the G7.
An expanded grouping of 7, United States of America's plans to counter China. India has accepted, Russia rejected. But the fact is that China is not going to take things lying down, and Russia certainly has sided with China. The geopolitical game has begun.
The US too has twice offered to help India address the tense standoff with China at the line of actual control, sending a clear message to Beijing. But India has clarified no third-party help will be needed to address bilateral issues.
From Australia to America, India is engaging extensively diplomatically for rule-based order. Militarily, Indian armed forces are effectively deployed to protect India's core national interest. The message is clear. Neither diplomatically nor militarily is India either a pushover or on the back foot. For peace and tranquility, the ball is in China's court. With Geeta Mohan and cameraman Kripal Singh in Delhi, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. General Kulkarni, in your appreciation, is China looking for a fight, or is China only trying to coerce us, intimidate us and extract perhaps some concessions from India at the WHO or elsewhere?
Yeah, before that, you asked me a question as to this Lieutenant General talks that are going to be taking place thereafter. You know, talks are very essential, and it's very essential that they be talk, whether at the battalion commander level or at the brigade commander level or at the GOC level, now at the corps commander level. You'll find talks will definitely yield. At least each side can put across their point of view. Where it gets resolved doesn't matter. Talks definitely resolve. Talks definitely bring down the tension, which already I understand the tensions have come down, both at Pangangso and also at Galwan. So that's a very good indication. Now, coming to as to why that Gaurav, you wanted to know as to what is it that you wanted to know, Gaurav?
So my second question is, China wants to keep us confined to South Asia. Yes. Is China looking for a fight? Or do they only want to extract concessions, maybe at the World Health Organization where Dr. Harshvardhan plays a crucial role, or elsewhere?
See, China is very keen that India should be kept boxed in South Asia, whereas China sees India alone as the only country which can compete with China in the Asian in the sphere. As a result of which, look at the way the Chinese have gone about, be it in Sri Lanka, be it in Pakistan, be it in Myanmar, be it in Bangladesh, be it in Maldives, be it in Djibouti, and now even talking with Bhutan. So you look at the way they're going about it. So they want that India should remain boxed in South Asia, whereas India is now looking at it, not, I wouldn't say like a world power, but definitely India is a power to reckon with. That is what it irks China. Now, when you look at China entirely in this particular sphere, you find, surely enough, in the WHO, what happened, Dr. Harshvardhan is a man who is a doctor. He's in the executive thing. Now, as a person who knows what it is, probably China is trying to convey to India that do not expose China to the world. Because as it is, the Americans have called it as the China virus. The Americans are calling it as a thing which has originated from Wuhan, and China is responsible for this pandemic that has spread the world over. Now, is it from the wet market or is it from the virology department? Now, if the experiment there has gone wrong, that means China should have been more responsible. WHO should have been more responsible.
General, we'll track that story. We'll track that story very closely. But China's actions have angered people in our country, because time and again you have Prime Minister Narendra Modi who's reached out to Chinese President Xi Jinping in 2014 in Ahmedabad, in Mambalapuram, in Wuhan after Doklam, and India reaches out to China. What does China do? Tactics like Doklam and now here at Galwan Valley and Pangong. So Indians are now saying, let's reduce our dependence even on Chinese apps. What impact is that having? Take a look.
हमारे देश के 130 करोड़ लोग और 3 करोड़ जो भारतीय बाहर के देशों में हैं, सब मिलकर भारत में और बल्कि दुनिया भर में एक बॉयकॉट मेड इन चाइना मूवमेंट या अभियान शुरू करते हैं.
India's boycott China movement. Celebrities started it.
I think I won't be using it because, you know, when I saw that Sonam Wangchuk's video, he was correct. I totally agree with him that we should, you know, reduce our dependency on all of these Chinese products.
Masses are taking it forward. A month after China displayed its aggressive posturing in Ladakh, Indians have retaliated. On their immediate firing line are China's most popular digital assets. Already accused of hosting content aimed at exploiting religious sentiments during the pandemic, TikTok appears to have finally borne the brunt of rising anti-Chinese sentiments in India. Data from Finland-based mobile ranking platform AppFollow indicates the Chinese short-form video app has dropped to number 10 from 5 in a month. Among Android users, TikTok fell from 3rd to 5th slot. Another popular Chinese application, ShareIt, also declined on Android phones. Users beware. India Today's open source investigation has noticed a disturbing pattern in Chinese downloads. Our comparative analysis of Play Store information reveals startling facts. Sample this. China's TikTok requests around 30 permissions compared to its German counterpart, Dubsmash's 19, and the Scandinavian Funnymate's 13 requests. TikTok also requests location data.
Sponsors not just from the Indian Armed Forces but also from the people of India. General Kulkarni, for the moment, many thanks for joining me. As always, a pleasure having you on the show. That is all I have time for on this India First special. Many thanks for watching.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.